Hi, Stephen here for Bland Designs, and in this short little whatever video, I want to talk about the evolution of what I call the Bland Bag. What's a Bland Bag, you may ask? Well, it's a tote bag, but what I'm going to show you is where I started and where I have ended up. This is all part of my ongoing adventures in sewing and quilting. So, the first thing I made in terms of bags was this one. And for my first effort, it turned out pretty good. Hard to show the whole thing in the camera here, but it turned out not too bad at all. Now, it is a lined bag, so it is reversible actually. And in fact, here's what I learned. This material that I have on the outside was supposed to be on the inside of the tote bag. I got the pattern for this from Cricut Design Space because I have a Cricut maker and it cuts material, and that was one thing I wanted to do. Was I wanted to try out the cutting material with the Cricut maker, and I found this design online. The thing was, I may have started a little over ambitious. This is a extra large tote, they called it, and it has a lining. So this was supposed to be on the inside of the bag. I got things screwed up and it became the outside. Well, not really. I didn't think about it, but it doesn't really matter because this bag is reversible. And just let me fluff it down here. So really, I can use either side. Personally, I like the blue side a little better because it's two-toned. Some people may think that's a little too feminine, but that doesn't really bother me. It's a bag. Now, also, the way that I cut this, you were supposed to be able to create boxed or square corners. Well, I had a little trouble with that the first time. As you can see, I've got some puckering happening in here. This is a good side. This side turned out fine. This side, little problem. Not that anybody would notice unless I pointed out to them, but I knew. So I moved on with my trial and error. Now, first of all, I thought of creating this little quick bag. Again, I was practicing my square corners, and as you can see on this bag, I actually got square corners. So I kind of figured that out. But this was sort of a small little trial bag where I didn't actually use my sewing machine, I used my serger. And so I just serged the seams, as you can see, inside, and I serged around the edge and over top of the handles. This was just a little quickie bag. Now, I did do a top stitch along here on my sewing machine just to reinforce it. This bag is not lined, it's not reversible, but it's the right size for holding a couple of bottles of wine if you're going to somebody's place for dinner. So that was okay, and I like the material. I had some of that material left over, so I thought I'd make a little bigger bag, and not on the serger, but with the sewing machine, although I did serge the seams on the sides. Well, something went terribly wrong with this one, because I call this the baby bag, because this looks like you could put a baby in it with their little legs hanging out the side. I screwed up the corners, or the bottom, so I thought I'd just cut them off, and I kept cutting them off until I got this very weird angle. So it is a designer bag. It'll work fine, but it's not what I really had in mind. And just to dress it up a little bit, I was also playing with my Cricut maker. So I cut out in iron-on vinyl the words "create" 3 times in 3 different colors and put those on the front, just for a little added dimension. Okay. This bag almost came out perfectly. It was a little heavier material that I used, and in fact this material that's right here is material that I actually printed on my LaserJet printer, on my inkjet printer, sorry, my inkjet printer. This is my own design from an art journal page, and it turned out not too bad printing it. The only problem was this is not really waterproof. Now, I have put some protective spray on top of this. If I'm out in the rain or something, this gets a little wet, the colors shouldn't run. But you could not use this material in the washing machine because it would run. I have a whole video on my channel where I show you how I printed that paper, so you can find that there. I wanted pockets on the outside of this one, and I did manage to get pockets, except for one thing. I got more pockets than I wanted. What I wanted were 3 pockets, a large one and 2 small ones, like to hold, say, crafting tools or things like that, if you're going to a crop. And I wanted them on both sides. Well, I did manage to figure this out. Now, this is where I was experimenting, because I wasn't really looking at a pattern for this. But I figured it out, and I thought I was very clever. I even got nice finished edges and everything on the top of it and the pockets. But here's what I forgot to do. I put interfacing on the inside of this. But what I didn't do was sew this panel to the bag itself, because this is the way it's supposed to be. It has now become another pocket. The only problem is you can see the interfacing in here, and I don't know how long that'll really last. And I did that on both sides. So that was one mistake. As far as my box corners were concerned, I don't know. I blew it on this one. I've got puckers in both of them, and I'm not sure exactly what I did wrong at that point, but again, I've been having a lot of problem with those box corners up to this point. I got them on one of the bags I showed you that I made before this bag correctly, but then I couldn't do it again. And I've been watching a lot of videos about how to do this, and it's not that difficult as I found, but I finally saw a couple of videos that really explained it to me in very simple terms, and so I'm proud to say that I have mastered that. So this is my latest bag, and this is what I call the BlandBag. Okay, I use that iron-on vinyl again on here. This is my own design. I didn't follow a given pattern. I basically ripped off other patterns to figure this out. This took me about 3 hours to make from start to finish. Now, what's different about this than the other bags? First of all, did I get my square bottoms? Yes, I did, with no puckering. That worked. Did I get proper pockets on the side? Yes, I did. This is all lined, has interfacing, and it's 2 pieces of material. So the interfacing is sandwiched in between, and it's stitched down, and I have them on both sides of the bag, 3 nice pockets. Is it lined? No, I did not line this one, so inside you can see my seams, and my seam allowances were about a 1/2 inch as opposed to a 1/4 inch on this, because I wanted it to secure these pockets, because they go right into the seam. One thing I think I should have done was I probably should have, for the handles, although the material is doubled over and it's stitched on both sides to keep it secure, I think I should have used some interfacing as well with that, and that would have made these just a little stiffer. Also, you can see inside where I've sewn the handles onto the bag. Now, I finished off the edges by just folding them over, sort of a type of rolled hem, and I reinforced at the bottom and the top. I did not reinforce in here, so I've got a little loop, so if you want to put keys or something, you could put them on. I didn't really plan it that way, that's just the way it worked out. So overall, this bag I'm very pleased with, and I have saved my plans for this. And the one thing that was suggested to me is to put a piece of foam board covered in the same material down on the bottom inside, and then I'll have a bottom. It's hard to show you this, but it will stand up, then the bottom will be stiffer with that. So I may do that yet. Also, this material that you see here, you saw this on the other bag I showed you that I had printed on my inkjet printer. This is not printed on my inkjet printer. This, I sent my design to a company that makes fabric for you. You can design it online. So this is one of my art journal pages that was digitalized, and I also did a mirror image. You can't tell when you see this, but to fill it out a little bit more. And I had 4 yards of it made, and they sent it to me. And so this is waterproof, machine washable now. The ink will not come out. And I'm really impressed with that whole process. In fact, future projects, I'm going to upload several of my art journal pages and get some fat quarters made of those, and then use those to make a quilt or a quilted bag. So this is a BlandBag. People will be running to the stores trying to order these kind of things. You've heard of Gucci, you've heard of Louis Vuitton, and now it's time for the BlandBag. Okay, so that's a whatever for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you later.